fine day, another fine mess you got me into. Rouser Radio, preceding, precursor to your television, which comes on at 8:30. This is Keith Hayes with Rouser Radio. I'll say it again. This is Keith Hayes with Rouser Radio. It is 7:32 on the 27th day of the month, 27th of July, 2022. Temperature heading 23, 24. Sunny periods and a gentle breeze. Could anybody ask for anything more? Well, you could ask for anything more, but you're not likely to get it. We are a nation that is rudderless. We're a nation that's lazy. We've all gone to sleep and nobody wants to go to work. A train strike and nobody cares because nobody is travelling on the train to work. Who really cares? Who gives a damn? Well, I give a damn, and sorry, but I do have that national pride that came with being English and a Brit. When I was, well, never mind how old I was, but in the 1950s and the 1960s, and it's a proud nation it was, and I'm not sure that it's a proud nation today, except through its sporting prowess, where the Lionesses, the ladies' football team, took on Sweden in the semi-finals of the Euros and came out winners by 4 goals to 0. A brilliant result. So, in many ways, this summer our sports people have led the way. The Lionesses are doing brilliantly. Our cricketers shocked us all by slamming the ball all over the place. We've started to regain credibility in the middle distances in athletics. Rugby, we took it down under and won the series. Not only England, but the other nations as well, and Ireland particularly beating the All Blacks. So, all in all, if football would stop its internal gazing and its nonsense and its stupidity in terms of its administration and the amounts it pays in wages and fees and so on and so forth, we'd actually be in pretty good shape. But I constantly amazes me why millionaires want to get involved in football. Is they purchase stuff which is a failure. They throw their money good after bad. I have to sit in the stands and have the fans yell abuse at them. I just don't understand it at all. I mean, to me, it is not a great street cred thing. It's nice, yes. If somebody offered me shares in a football club, I'd take them. Of course, I would. Would I sit in the stand and pose? Yes, I would. But I would recognize it for what it is, instead of this obsession with pouring millions into it and getting away with nothing. Anyway, the other sports happily keeping us in front of everybody and with terrific results. Terrific results. So well done, all our sports people. You're a breath of fresh air. If only we could say the same for the country, because we are leaderless at the moment. We have no head, we have no body, and we have no feathers, and we have no feet, and we don't even lay an egg. It is amazing how one end of the stick can be so successful and bright and happy, and the other end of the stick so miserable and silly. So let's look at the headlines so you know what I'm talking about. The newspaper headlines are these front pages. And Sunak for VAT cut pledge, and Rawson Lionesses into the final. The Eye, Sunak on the ropes as Tory debate host collapses. The lady who's handling the debate on TV fainted. Yeah, but the latest from the race between Sunak and Truss for the Conservative Party leadership is that Mr. Sunak is on the ropes, says the Eye, after polling showed he continues to lag behind Miss Truss among Tory members. The paper is also one of a number to carry a picture of Miss Truss appearing shocked after Kate McCann, the host of Tuesday's head-to-head debate on Talk TV, fainted. No talk of the VAT cut there. But the Times, Sunak, I will ditch VAT on energy bills. The Times leads with a pledge by Mr. Sunak that he would scrap VAT on energy bills next year. An announcement the paper calls a significant change of strategy intended to help overhaul Miss Truss's lead. The paper says the former Chancellor had previously resisted pressure to promote tax cuts, but that he now says the measure is needed because of expectations the energy cap will rise to about £3,000. God help us all. So, you know, where are we? What are we? Who are we? Yes, none of us expected this when we went into lockdown, did we? We had enough to moan about and then to be joyous about because we were all being, well, I wasn't, but many people were being paid for doing nothing. And the trouble is that they've got used to it and they don't want to go back to work, but they still want to be paid. They still want the good life. People are still rushing off on airplanes and cars and ferries off to holidays in the sun. Well, enjoy them because what you're going to come back to is a country that is in desperate trouble. It has no leadership, it has very little governance, and what's more, its economy is straining from the policies that have been, and I'm not saying they're wrong policies, but the policies that were instituted during lockdown cost us a lot of money. A lot of money, as Silla would have said. And that means that we are going to have to pay it back. And guess where that comes from? Oh, not from borrowing. Oh, no. We're in enough debt as it is. That will come from our paybackers. The trouble is that none of us want to go back to work. So that leaves the government with a policy that has left a huge debt, a huge hole in the finances, and no means of recouping it. Because if you don't work, you don't pay taxes. And nobody wants to work. Oh, ho. What a country we're in. The only things I can say is all sorts of other countries seem to be in the same boat. People don't want to go back to work after lockdown. They don't want to get cracking unless you live in an authoritarian regime such as China or dare I say it, the Russian Federation, and you are told, work or else. And then you do. Do we want to see that in this country? I don't think so. But really, it's up to citizens. You know, if you leave a hiatus, if you leave a gap to be filled, it'll be filled with naughty people. I warn you now. The Daily Telegraph, Sunak's screeching U-turn on tax cuts. A source on the Truss campaign describes the pledge as a screeching U-turn to the Daily Telegraph. The paper also reports that as Chancellor, Mr. Sunak rejected calls for a similar cut as recently as February, saying it would disproportionately benefit wealthier households. Well, changed his mind on that, hasn't he? The Daily Express, no ifs or buts, the police must solve more crimes. Well, they've taken a different tack on what the candidates are saying because Liz Truss has said continues what the Express is. It continues its support for the straight-talking Miss Truss by focusing on her plans to tackle crime. The paper says she will demand the police up their game and cut serious crime by 20% if she becomes Prime Minister. Well, whether she becomes Prime Minister or not is something that needs taking a look at. The police are in as much of a mess as everything else in the country. The Mirror, the cost of living call for action. It's a Tory war on workers. We must fight. It's quoting Union Chief Lynch, Mick Lynch, of the RMT, who have called a strike today, in which Lynch says the Conservative Party is engaged in a war on workers and that he expects whoever becomes leader to try to crush unions. Well, certainly both candidates have said that they want to take on the unions, but Lynch is right in the sense that the unions do have so much power. It's not easy, and it is well known and well talked about in pubs is the trauma the country went through when Margaret Thatcher did the same thing in 1980. The Financial Times. World's biggest consumer names are now soaring price increases. Some of the world's biggest companies have issued warnings about the continued rise in their costs and its impact on prices. The Financial Times reports say Amazon announced a £1 increase in the monthly cost of its Prime service, citing higher operating costs, while Unilever described a truly unprecedented cost landscape. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Walmart have also warned of price increases, changes which the paper says will heap more pressure on households. God help us. Brace yourself, chaps. Brace yourself. The Metro. OMG. Oh my God. Rail and tube strike hell, it says. Millions of commuters already hit by today's rail strike face the triple misery next month after unions announced a tube walkout, sandwiched between two more train strikes. The Metro says it all amounts to rail and tube strike hell. But to raise a smile, the Metro sub-editors come up with the headline of the day to sum up England's semi-final hammering of Sweden in the Euros. ABBA, some of that, is the celebratory taunt. ABBA, some of that. Well, we'll have some of that with ABBA, of course, with the Swedish pop group that has remained famous for, 20 or 30 years. The Sun. Now bring on Germany at Wembley. The Sun loves to dodge any difficult issues at the moment. So the fact that England forward Fran Kirby celebrates the final goal during a 4-0 win dominates the front page of the Sun. The headline reads, "Now bring on Germany for France at Wembley." Aha, right. The Guardian. Ministers played fast and loose with £777 million in COVID contracts, it says. The Guardian main picture is another image of the goal celebrating Sheffield Bramall Lane. The paper hails a stunning victory. The lead story focuses on a report that found ministers and government officials played fast and loose with awarding over £700 million worth of contracts associated with COVID to a firm that employed a Conservative, Mr. Owen Paterson, as a lobbyist. The paper says the report conducted by the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee identified failures that made it impossible to know if the contracts had been awarded properly. Well, they all go up there and they stuff their pockets, don't they? It's all got to change, but will it change now? What the hell? If you're in charge and you've got it cozy, you're not going to do much, are you, to change that? The Daily Mail. Air pollution is a likely cause of dementia. Well, that's a change. A report by another government committee leads the Daily Mail to say that a committee of government advisors have concluded that air pollution is a likely cause of dementia. The paper says the finding will put renewed pressure on ministers to clear up Britain's filthy air. Elsewhere, the paper's main picture is another of England's rampant lionesses, who are described as rawsome. And how is my lovely Daily Star? What have they got? Airport chief hits out at TikTok fakers for causing holiday chaos. I want that one. The Daily Star says that airport chiefs have identified TikTok fakers for adding to congestion at terminals by faking injuries to get wheelchairs and jump lengthy queues. Ho, ho, ho. The Lioness's many goals celebrates again. Sweden are pictured on several of Wednesday's front pages of papers as being the loser to England. Wow, wow, wow! It is 7:47. Let's play something, shall we? A kind of hard. Well, good morning. It's Rouser Radio you're listening to, just in case you've only caught us now. It's 7:49 in Lewes in East Sussex on the 27th day of the 7th month in 2022. And what a year it's been. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. But some good news from the Lionesses, the ladies football team, 4-0 thrashing of Sweden last night. Oh, that does the heart good, doesn't it? I was just looking through for any significant news locally, and it says that a man who's starting some sort of a coffee operation here. Andrew Knight has spent more than 40 years importing, roasting, blending, and distributing coffee to high-end coffee aficionados around the world. The 72-year-old has opened the espresso room in the station after being alerted to the vacant unit by the council. Um, uh, I'm not sure that I like what the council is doing there, because for years we fought for the runaway on the basis that really there was only room for one. And if this man who's coming in with his new business, he could have found a better place than there. No, I don't like that. Sorry, Mr. Andrew Knight. You're going to have to convince me that you're not hand in glove with a council that doesn't know its arse from its elbow when it comes to business and can't make any sensible decision. A lot of people have tried that, the vacant unit, and nobody seems to be able to make a go of it. Now, I hope I'm talking about the right thing. I'll look it up a little later. I assume that he's not talking about the runaway, which is still there as far as I'm aware, or the unit at the top. Um, if it is the unit at the top, and if the runaway is not there anymore, and that would be very sad because we all fought like crazy to keep it going, then I would applaud his initiative. But as it is, if we are talking about somebody else to take on the runaway, is heavens to Betsy. When are they going to understand it's a small station and that two coffee shops within the space of 100 yards is a nonsense, is a rubbish, and that the one that is there is much loved by travellers, except of course the travelling public have changed. But let's see. When Costa Coffee pulled out, it's the one upstairs. Right. I'm sorry, I'm not with you on that one. Uh, yeah, it is. He says Lewis is a town that is supportive of independent coffee shops. Yes, it is. I'm not going to go head to head. For God's sake, there are three on the high street chains that you could have gone after. And that's what I would have expected from somebody who says that he's so worried about where small restaurants should go. Oh, what a pity! What a pity! I would love to have felt that was good news, but I can't. Um, Lewis District Council has accused of posturing after announcing emergency. Well, yeah, okay, that's an internal thing, isn't it? Is the Conservatives? Good morning, young Max has arrived, despite the lack of trains and so on. Young Max is here, ready to take on the world and to take on Stuart and to take on all manner of things. The local council actually announced that they'd written to the chancellor saying, do this, do that, do the other to help all our people, local people who are suffering. And now, of course, it's become a political issue, political football, and they're saying, hey, hang on, you know, is the sort of thing that you're doing is the sort of thing that should be done by the he couldn't get his bum past the table. Ah, I tell you what, he's going for he's doing a program on health. You'll soon see him sweating on the bicycle. Yeah, okay. And Lewis number 2 Vines wants a good start but wants no excuses. I think that football or rugby is football, I guess. So nothing much. Lewis councillors call for extra help for Ukrainian refugees. Yeah, well, they can call for it. What are they going to do about it? The East Sussex council are accused of violently shoving protesters. Oh dear, dear, dear! It's all happening in the old town. It's all happening in the old town. Right, let's go to Ben Sound and Jazzy Frenchy. Here we go. Or bum 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 bum. Jazzy Frenchy by Ben Sound. There's good people at Ben Sound, terrific people. Well, I've got to clear my throat. I haven't had any coffee yet. But all sorts of things happening on the front benches, as it were. In other words, the debate. Of course, the pot calling the kettle black, and so it continues. Cut taxes? No. Oh well, perhaps it seems popular. I'll do it. Oh God, flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. Is that's the leadership we can expect at a time when the world is in dire straits? And one of the things that they did cover the other day, and they should cover, and that is that the Chinese are not exactly docile. The Chinese are ready to start, well, not start, they have been moving in on various areas. One of the things that we haven't realized, well, we have, the powers that be that have, but never gets out into the public, is how much China has actually influenced Africa. They have poured money in there and goods and power plants and you name it into fusion. And as a consequence, their influence is very strong. They've always said that Africa is the sleeping giant, and I can well believe it. I've spent some time there. There are some very enterprising people. It's if it could only get rid of its very, very strong corruption, and if, in fact, it learned how to handle vast countries. I mean, Nigeria is like 170, 180 million people. Huge, huge country physically. I mean, I've travelled part of it, so I know. And it's one of those things that we tend to ignore, and we've ignored the Chinese, and they are now making inroads into Western society in many ways. And Stuart Dolby, who is a little poorly this morning, unfortunately, but Stuart's theme of what the hell's happening, we are opening up all sorts of non-carbon um, power units, but that they are actually nuclear, and much of this is funded by the Chinese. Is which way are we going? Where are we going? And Melissa Winton, our correspondent in the United States, she says that we are not understood by the Americans because we are not paying attention to the Chinese and their influence. Hey, there we go. We're in a mess, aren't we? Yes, we are. Anyway, the headlines this morning is let's see. Oh dear, that's a silly thing. We the papers are following what's happening in the Tory debate, and I can't say that I really uh, terribly fond of what I'm reading, and I think that we're paying far too much attention to what they're saying as to what they're doing. But the main one is that Sunak has done a U-turn and says now that he'll cut VAT. He's always been adamant, no tax cuts at all. But Liz Truss seems to be the popular favourite at the moment. There's a long way to go. They say a week is a long time in politics. Easy to put your foot in it. But he's said that he'll cut VAT on energy bills because with the next rise in September is the cost is going to be £3,000 a year. Whee, that's a lot. 20% of that. What's 20% of £3,000? That's £600, isn't it? Take that off, and you at least reduce it down to 2,400. Uh, that is if that disappears off it. And is it manageable? It's still a lot. It is still a lot. Uh, I was paying £600. Now I'm paying double that. So, I'm not a very happy bunny at all. I expect action, action from our leaders. Some leaders. They don't behave like leaders at the moment. But the eye says Sunak on the ropes as Tory debate host collapses. Right. That is that the lady who was hosting the thing, hosting the debate for the BBC, fainted. Oh dear. I think probably it was excitement that she probably got an earplug in and listening to the lady footballers as they stormed to a 4-0 win over Sweden. Aha. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. And good news in a morning of mounting gloom and doom, which it always seems to be at the moment. Okay, the Times is Sunak. I will ditch VAT on energy bills. But the main picture is the one of the lady footballers who scored a goal, throwing her fist into the air in glee. The Daily Telegraph. Sunak's screeching U-turn on tax cuts. But their picture is one of Liz Truss, which doesn't actually do her a lot of favours, I don't think. But then, who does nowadays? Right. Oh dear. We can't seem to get things right, can we? No, hang on. There we go. There we go. The Daily Express. No ifs or buts. Police must solve more crimes. Now, you would think, reading that the Express, which is a government-supporting newspaper, is saying, hey, come on, get with it. No, not a bit of it. What they're saying is this is what Liz Truss is saying. She is saying that give her the job of Prime Minister and she'll cut violent crime by 20%. That she'll get the police to do the job which they're not doing at the moment. It's a very valid point. Knife crime in the capital is out of control. And to be quite honest with you, every day that you seem to pick up a story about the police, it's what happened that they didn't solve, as opposed to what they did. Sorry to be unkind to the police. As a journalist, I've worked closely with police forces all my life, and I do understand the trauma that many policemen have to go through just to get to the end of a day. But the fact of the matter is at the top, we've had so much farting around and tinkering on the edges that now we're lacking any sort of law and order on the streets. And any civilized society must have law and order, rule of law. That is key to any democratic society. Rule of law. And who makes sure that we are living to a rule of law principle? Well, it's the police. And if they are sadly lacking in any sort of direction, and sadly lacking in being able to put into effect the laws of the land, then we are in serious, serious trouble. So probably she is right to say, hey, I'm not happy, get with it. The Mirror, well, it's a Tory war on they quote Mick Lynch, the RMT boss, because there's a strike throughout the country today of trains, sort of saying that the Conservatives are trying to crush the unions. Well, it's always been a perpetual battle. What does he expect? And actually, the unions are much more difficult to crush than one would think, because even Margaret Thatcher didn't achieve it totally way back in 1980. But that battle goes on, and it's very typical of the Mirror to this Tory war on workers. The Financial Times. Now, the Financial Times is probably the most disturbing of the lot, because what it says is that European gas prices surge after Russian act Russian acts quickly on threats to uh, choke supply. Yeah, well, that's all the big fight between whether the Russians are going to stop supplying gas to the European Union via Germany or not. But the big one is that most big organisations, including Coca-Cola and McDonald's and Walmart's, not that we have many Walmarts here, I don't think, but the chain stores are saying that the costs of doing business are so high that they've got to put up their prices. So yeah, it's already bad enough. Already bad enough going to the supermarket and finding out that what was a pound yesterday is a pound 25 today. But now there's going to be further pressure, and the leap is going to be huge. And I'm sorry, but that all stokes inflation. When we're trying to fight inflation, is price increases of that magnitude stoke inflation. They do nothing to bring it down. Governments and central banks were caught hopping on that one, as indeed they've been caught hopping on most things. How sad, how sad, how sad that we've got a country set on democratic principles that has reduced itself to not being able to look at some of the very basics. The central bank's prime duty is to look at inflation. And suddenly it went roaring to 10% from virtually zero. What was the bank doing? Well, it, like everybody else, had 4 days off and 1 day on. And I'm sorry, please do not tell me that people work from home and in the main that they work the way they would if they were in an office. It doesn't happen that way. It is not human nature. So the bank is as culpable about soaring inflation as anybody else in my book. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's 8:09. I'm going to pay one more piece and then we'll... here, I love this one. Down with your get-up from the Mini Vandals. My good old Mini Vandals. Down with your get-up from the Mini Vandals. All right, it's 11 minutes past 8. We will go in a minute or two, giving way to Mirador Television at 8:30. And kicking you off today will be the indomitable, never can pronounce that word, Max, who Uh, normally, if Stuart Dolby by the nose, but Stuart's wife is very poorly this morning, and Stuart may not be able to make it in. So Max is going to handle the first half hour on his own, which he's perfectly capable of doing, and you enjoy Max, so join him then. And if Stuart isn't in by the turn of the clock at 9 o'clock, I will sit in the background, and Max will make fun of me instead of Stuart. I'm nowhere near as left wing as Stuart. But Max undoubtedly will find something somewhere, a little chink in my armour to have a go. So he's sitting there smirking. He thinks that I'm not getting geared up to be able to take him on. Ha ha ha! Right, okay. He's looking pretty grim this morning. Was it a bad time getting in?
No, it's just long. I mean, 2 hours each way.
Yeah.
It's a bit of pain. But
Yep.
it's fine.
You're all right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see that bloody famous smile then. Right, that's better. He says, I was at a funeral yesterday, for God's sake, I saw enough of long faces. Okay, there we are, 8:13, that's it for today. Once again, the headlines are that Sunak is going to do a U-turn and is now proposing cutting VAT on energy bills. And everybody is getting very excited about that. And the energy bills, of course, are piling up. But now a warning from the big companies that their prices are going to start to bounce up. So it's everyday living is going to cost us a heck of a lot more. And of course, then that stokes the unions to ask for a much greater increase in their wages demands, and that in turn stokes inflation. And so it goes on in a vicious circle. Somebody somewhere is going to have to pull a toughie. I wonder who it will be. Perhaps that's where leadership will start to count. Perhaps that's where we can tell whether we've got mice or men or women in charge. 8:14. Have a good day. It's going to be about 23 degrees, a gentle breeze, some cloudy bits there, but generally speaking, another nice day. So 8:30, when Max Hurd will be along to keep you company and see you through the early part of the program. This is Keith Hayes, Rouser Radio. Toodle, 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 pip.